This is episode 8 that we've got to. It's an episode per day that I've been doing. So we're going to do episode 8. So we'll start as usual in prayer. In the name of Allah, the entirely beneficent, the entirely merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, sovereign of the day of recompense. It is you, Allah, whom we serve, and it is you, Allah, whom we ask for help. Guide us, Allah, to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favour, not of those who have evoked your anger, nor those who are astray. I want to thank the entire nation of Islam for being, as it is, our teaching source during much of this time, all of this time really, during such a dark hour. And I would like to thank my mother, who raised me and made sacrifices that I am learning of and yet never will comprehend the depth of. Welcome to the 8th episode of The Universal, where I'm going into my writings. It's a series of broadcasts, and I'll be sharing to the best of my ability what I've been learning and writing down for the purpose of quickening us to life, quickening us to spiritual life, and also help us to grow into the spiritual mind of Almighty God Allah, who came to us in the person of Master W.D Fard Muhammad, the Great Mahdi. All praise is due to him. And praise to Elijah Muhammad, because Muhammad only means, if we know this, or if we do not, I will gladly share it. Muhammad only means, well, it doesn't only mean this, but Muhammad, one of the meanings of Muhammad means one worthy of praise, and Elijah Muhammad definitely did a work, and definitely set a complete example that is worthy of praise. Absolutely. There was something that I wanted to, maybe I should do these before I eat, because sometimes I'm always saying pardon me, and it's because I'm like, it's like stuff's going on, and I keep thinking y'all can like hear it, and anyway, you didn't need to know that. Alright, there was something I want to mention, and it's that before I called it The Universal, I was trying to like figure out a name of what to call this like broadcast series, and I'll share with you the two names that I had, as a title for the broadcast series. The first is The Light of a Student. And I thought that was interesting to mention because at the end of the day, we're all students in the classroom of God. Life itself is a whole entire classroom. The universe is the university. You wonder why they call like one of the highest stages of educational development the university. Well, in that word you have the universe, and we are all students in that universe, whether we see it or not, whether we want to see it or not. We are all students. But I wanted to call it The Light of a Student because a lot of the time we have people in positions of power that the title seems so, the archbishop, the I mean, God, I don't even know what we call ourselves out here, but there's so many like grand sheikh and like all these brilliant like titles, but yet we don't hold any, and we're not emitting any light. Do you understand? And so the purpose of the truth, first and foremost, is that, like Farrakhan says, when the electrics have gone out, you make sure you call the electrician, and you know that the electrics have come back on when the lights come on. So the light of a student, I was going to call it The Light of a Student because it basically gives an outline that we're alive. We have come alive. The lights have come on. We're not in the dark. We might be in a hostile environment. We might be in a particular period of time, that's dark, like in the 113th chapter, where we have to, recite the intense darkness when it comes, like intense dark. It's not that it's not going to be dark or hard, or there's not going to be no difficulty, but like the light of a student is a mixture of God and I was going to say the ant, that's what came, so but I think I will. It's like God and the ant. Something so grand, something so big, but then something so small, but something so strong as well, because ants are really strong, and ants are in numerous number, and they work together. The whole point of being a student is that, if I'm learning something in class, I mean, who in a classroom, has a really good answer and everyone in the classroom has got their fingers in the ears? No one. Not a good student, anyway. A good student is always looking for a great answer or a great source to materialize and to get materialize and to get materials as to be a better student. Do you know what I mean? So I was going to call it the light of a student. That was the first name. And the other one that I wanted to mention was I was going to call it Let There Be Lights or Let There Be Life. So point being is like, we can't just repost the minister's light. We have to be able to transition our own, light after a while. Do you know what I mean? And I understand that we all do it differently. I do get that. Pardon me. But, let there be light. See? Let there be light. Let there be lights. See? I was going to say, let there be lights. Allow it to happen. Let there. Don't stop it. Don't try to stop light from being emitted. Like, that's what I'm saying. We need to understand that our development is in each other, and each other's develop is congruent and reflective and connected to our growth, to our coming up as a student. It's almost like, well, imagine there being a bridge and there's no one that's so there's a broken bridge, nobody can cross it. What you're telling me, if a brother comes and fixes the bridge, you won't walk across it just because it was that brother that built the bridge? What? You know what I mean? So we have to understand that we're all one. We're all one in him. Like, and tell you what, never let an envious person cut your hair, because they'll always do a terrible job, because you put your hands in you put your hair in the hands of an envious so and so. So it's like, I think that's one of our biggest problems, like, not just in the nation, just in the world. Like, we can't accept that we can't accept certain things because of the diseases that we hold in our hearts. And, I'm that kind of brother that, listen, I will try my best to stay positive. I'll try my best to keep the spirits high. I'll try my best to give you the good news before I give you the bad news. But I don't turn a blind eye to when people are being, like, selective with their, like, praise. Not that we seek it, but that's what, alright, we'll say encouragement. Selective with their encouragement. Selective with their, like, you know, and fair enough if there's a group chat going on anywhere, like fair enough, I get it. You know, you're all a big part of one community, you know, but you know we have to include those that are clearly giving us a way into our spiritual domain once again, like, you know, and I feel that I've been doing that. So, but I'm equally aware that, you know, there are some people that genuinely just don't like me, you know, and I'm just gonna come out and say it. Like Farrakhan does get to a point where he's like, you know, I really want to talk about this. I really want to get to the point of this. So I thought one of the best ways to like do it in this, like, just in this moment and in this time was to, you know, give you you know, the broadcast names, ideas, and go into why I was going to call it the light of a student. Because, like, you know, I don't try to make myself of no reputation. I try to make myself a good student, though. You see what I'm saying? I think there's a difference. Like, you put a title on my head, I'll put it back on you. But if you want to ask me something as a student, from a student to a student, I'll be overjoyed to share what it is that I've learned, or what Allah would show me, or, you know, allow me to reveal to you as a student to a student. So, you know, that's just a little bit of like a bit of context, and, you know, oh, we are trifling, you know. I told you in one of the episodes that I've done already, teaching just won't do it. You know, it's gonna take more than teaching to get our people out of this condition. And those are not my words. Those are the words of the most honourable Elijah Muhammad. So, and if you can see how wise he was and is, you can see that his words, they go far into the future. And so he must have known, even at this point, we were still going to be stiff-necked. We were still going to be hard-hearted. You know, Ishmael had to make a call, 2 calls actually. It was last Saviour's Day, and I believe it was the Wednesday after, or the Sunday after, where he made the lecture of repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Slow motion. So, you know, he's tuned up to what message we need to hear because of his awareness of our spiritual condition. And, you know, nothing is hidden from Allah, and nothing is hidden from those who are tuned in with Allah, and that, you know, and that he communicates to, you know. And I wanted to share that we need to really understand that, you know, and I tried to touch on it last week. Sorry, last week. I keep saying last week. It seems like it was last week. It was yesterday or the day before. You know, he whom the Lord chasteneth much, you know, it's love. You understand? It's when somebody whops your behind, when somebody gives you a whooping, or when somebody gives you a word that is like a whooping, even if it is spiritual, you know, it's a mercy from God. It's a grace. It's a great grace from the one who gives grace and gives favour and grants pardons, and he's the forgiver of sins. He's the great forgiver. He's the humbler. He's the humiliator. But you may think, oh, he's a humiliator. Like, oh, that's a terrible word. No. Sometimes he'll humiliate you because he wants you to see yourself. Like, I've done a write-up somewhere about it in my writings. It's quite new. But I won't be able to find it just now, but I go into that meaning in the Arabic, and a lot of people, like, would think that's a terrible name for Allah to hold. Nah, he uses the way he humiliates us in a very, 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 very wise way that causes us to have a moment of reflection and correction. You know. Wait, I'll find something. I'll tell you what I will find. Because I remember writing that, and I guess that it lightens up the mood, because we are going to start going into this in a minute, as we usually do. But, you know, we come on, we got to get it together, man. It says, only God can judge me. That's what the people say, and that's what people think. Only God can judge me, you can't judge me. Only God can judge me, that's what he say. I say, well, that's their way of rejection, disguised as protection in every correction. wait, I need to get this right, because it does lighten up the mood. I've wrote it in a way where, yeah, it's true, but, there's an element of, like, ba-boom to it. Like, it's like a half volley. You, like, double hit that. The ball hits the floor and then your foot and then the goal. So, I don't know how that relates, but in other words, it's got an oomph to it. And that's kind of the way I write sometimes, as you will have known. This is the way I'm like in real life, like, yeah. So people think, oh yeah, only God can judge me. I've put here, that's their way of rejection, disguised as protection to every correction. So I hope you didn't see your reflection at this introspection, especially as we are at this particular intersection of the resurrection, or as God would have it, the ultimate perfection. And then I've put here just, I'm not being smart, I'm just being myself. And myself is a creator. Therefore, I am creative in the way I help you. I can't just caress you with a leaf all the time. Sometimes I feel like I have to do the brave thing and just say it how it is. You'll find a lot more of that on my new broadcast series, The Universal, on YouTube. And then I've put it as 640 plus followers and 7 views. Yeah, something ain't right. And you know what? Maybe I'm being impatient, which is not like me. But sometimes what your intuition says, what Farrakhan. Sometimes you can watch Farrakhan and you can see his intuition speaking to him, and you'll think something's bothering him. You understand? Envy is a real killer, man. Envy's a true killer, and I'm so glad I'm free from that. I'm so glad that I'm not an envious person. I've never been envious of God in anyone. And again, I don't always know how to say certain things without an intensity sometimes. Like, I get to a point sometimes where I'm like, well, I can't really just say it any other way than it needs to be said. You can't tell someone with an open wound, you're fine. It's just a little bit of blood. Like, no, there's blood gushing. Like, what do you want me to do? As the doctor? When your back split open, what, tell you that it's a scratch? No. That would make me a terrible doctor. That would make me a terrible, it would just be, and not only that, as the patient, you would be so mad at me and so mad at us if we didn't tell you what it be. You go to the doctors to be informed. You don't go to be deceived. You don't go to be told, and that's why I said I don't want to fan you with a leaf. Like, you don't go to be. You want the facts. You want the figures. You want how it is. You don't want to see the world in a way that would suit how you want to see it. You want to know what's going on your planet and what's going on in your world the way that it is, so that you can navigate, and so that you can navigate others, as well, through it. And so that's the underlying message that I'm going to start today's with, episode 8, you know. But, in good spirits as well, like, it's hard to say these things because, listen, I'm human at the end of the day. We're all human. We all have moments where we're like, does anybody hear me? Does anybody understand? And, anyway, I think I've said everything that I would want to say. So, well, I mean, besides all these things that I've yet to say, that's what's on my mind a little bit. I thought I'd share that with you because, again, I want to make this transparent. I want to make this honest. And it's Monday. Who likes a Monday? Mondays are not really that great, are they? I mean, we can't just say the day is bad. We can't just call a Monday a bad day. It's how we hit Monday. And I've hit Monday fine. But it's the work that I'm a part of that sometimes can, be a little bit heavy on me. You know what reminds me of? Well, I always read this thing. Well, I've read this thing, but it always makes me think. And it's that Prophet Muhammad, they peace be upon him. He got on a camel in Mecca or in the eastern land one time, and he was so heavy as a brother, the camel couldn't carry him. And as you know, right, camels are very, very strong. Camels can carry like heavy loads, and I'm talking heavy loads. Like, and just think about it, man. Like, or sister, man or woman, a camel can go through the desert with all that for miles and miles and miles. So like, but what it gives me the understanding of in this instance is that the Prophet wasn't necessarily carrying like fat. He wasn't a fat man, Prophet Muhammad. It wasn't a big geezer. He was quite lean. He was quite an averagely built person kind of thing. But it was the contents of his spirit that the camel couldn't carry. See what I mean? So some days you have them. You have them. Some days you just want to hit the hay. Like the camel, you want to hit the sand. You're like, yo, just sit here. I can't carry that. I can't carry this. I can't carry this today. But it's not something we don't. It's not an honor to carry. But and you know what the Quran says. I'll tell you something. The Quran says this. It says you can't share the load with anybody. It says Allah burdens a soul no more. Not burdens a soul. Yeah, Allah doesn't burden a soul more than it can bear, or like doesn't burden a soul more than it can carry, or something like that. Let me get exactly the verse because I need to get it right, and I want to get it right. Right, Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. That's it. It's so beautiful. After difficulty comes ease. Let me just turn my heat up. It's getting warm. I'm getting a bit warm. Okay, so we're gonna start this. It's took me again ages to start, but seriously though, this is gonna be a shorter one today. I've literally got 3 pages, but hopefully I can expand on stuff that will make the time roll on, I guess. But yeah. Do you know Allah is my witness and Allah is your witness? And that really, really comforts me. That really helps me to dig deep. That you know, people might be watching, and people might be, God knows what people are thinking, to be honest, but so long as I know what I'm thinking, so long as I know what I'm intending, it really doesn't matter. But you know, I'm just naturally one of those brothers that wants for his brother and his sister what he has for himself. And you know, sometimes there's another verse in the Quran as well that says, you know, I believe it's the cave, um, where God essentially is saying to Muhammad, like, perhaps you'll grieve yourself to death over them, you know, that they don't believe, that they would not believe in it. So I think if you look at that kind of what's the word? If you look at that kind of consideration, you look at that kind of like heart you for another person, it's like you want them to have some of what you've been blessed with. There's another verse that says as well that, I believe it was Jesus, or maybe it wasn't Jesus. I'm not quite sure which prophet it was. Maybe it was Muhammad. I don't know. But one of the prophets utter in the Quran. They say, "If only they knew that my Lord had honored me," or like, "If only they knew that the Lord had favored me," or if only they knew that the Lord had exalted me, or made me of those that have received favor or received something from him. If like, you know, they kind of, and it's a bit like Lot and his wife as well. You know, he's kind of like, I think it was Lot when he was saying, "Oh, I can go back and find 50, or I bet I can find 40, or you know, I can find." You know, he was concerned about those that were going to perish. Do you know what I mean? He was kind of like, but there's believers in the town, Allah. Like you destroy the believers with the wicked, and the Lord's looking at him like, well, go on then. Let's see if you can find 50. Go and find 50, and if you can't find 50, come back. So he kept going back. I'll find 50. Couldn't find 50. He said, all right. Well, what if I can find 40? Okay, go on then. He couldn't find 40. Couldn't find. He did it again. Couldn't find. He said this time I'll find 30. Couldn't find 30. Couldn't find 20. Couldn't find a single person, you know, that believed. I think, you know, besides who was saved, it was. You can imagine, like, this is what prophets go through, man. Like, this is what people with a message go through. So, you know, I'm not surprised, but I'm also very, like, open with that fact of how it does affect you. And for the most part, it's really, it boils down to envy, and it really does boil down to envy, doubt, confusion, and just our failure in our duty or our duties. Because, you know, I was telling my mother the other day, I was telling her a story, and there was part of it, I was saying, like, it's one thing to be able to juggle one ball. I was like, try and juggle one ball now. How easy is it, Mum? She was like, yeah, it's pretty easy, to be fair, son. Like, I was giving her the analogy, and I was like, right, now add another ball in it. Then another ball, you know, and it's like, after a while, people, you'll find it's quite difficult to manage so many different things in one moment. So, you know, sometimes it can be, and then amidst all that, you're trying to do things. So anyway, I'm rambling on again. I'm so sorry, but you know, it's on my mind, it's on my heart, and I want you to be able to connect with it. Maybe you feel the same. Maybe you're in an environment that's kind of similar. Maybe you're, you know, going through something similar. Maybe you've got something going on that you needed to hear something in that. But I think it will help just this particular episode if I get that off my chest, because, you know, I don't want to carry anything that will spill into the teaching or spill into what I've got to give you. You know, the minister will sometimes say, you know, I've not really, he says, like, at the beginning of some lectures, he's like, as you can tell, my voice is very, like, croaky, or it's very, you know, I was teaching such and such, or he'll give you a bit, he loves giving you a pretext or a basis of something. He likes to give you an outline of where he is. So I do want to make it as transparent as possible. Okay, so we'll go through the first thing that I've got here. It says, spirits are just thoughts. Yeah. You know, and that's why we make our prayers and we say, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. You know, and the minister says, why do you say that in the quietness of your room? And it's like, because there's nobody else in there but you, you know, and the God who you're connecting to. So what you'll find is you're seeking protection from those spirits that are just thoughts, because they're more influential than you think, and can be more influential than you think in the long run, not just in the short run. You know, you might tell yourself in a short thought and say, boxed it off, but then it's the thoughts that will keep sort of coming, or like the spirits, really. So it's always important to listen to the minister, because he's just phenomenal, and he casts out those demonic kind of thoughts that we all have. We all have, you know, negative thoughts. You know, minister says something like, some days you'll be up, some days you'll be down, like some days you'll be right as rain, and sometimes you'll be, you know, you'll feel like you've been sifted as wheat. And listen, if I'm going down, sifted by anyone, I'm making sure you're getting smashed to pieces, because you ain't sifting me, that's for sure. Nobody's sifting me out. And it's probably why they just leave me alone, to be honest. Yeah. Oh. And you know what I've not done for a while that I probably do need to. You know, I'm in a new environment, like, as of recent, and I've not really sang. I've not sung anything. I've not been singing. And sometimes when I don't sing, I feel like I need to, like, sing. Because singing helps me really, like, you know, I dance a lot as well. Dancing's really good for you. I like dancing. I love dancing, actually. It really does, like, help me to exorcise the demons. So, you know. Anyway, so spirits are just thoughts, guys. So keep the spirits, you know, at bay if they're not good thoughts, and keep the spirits close if they are good thoughts. And if you don't know if they are or if they're not, then guess who you need to go to? Boom. You said it, not me. And if you didn't say it, then it's Master Fard Muhammad, the great Mahdi. Or you could even go to your brother or your sister, or somebody you know will give you guidance, you know. Get to Brother Jeffrey or something, or like Brother Ishmael, or, you know, one of the good ones. Somebody that loves for you to have what they have been blessed to have, and inshallah they get to keep it. Praise be to Allah. That they can give more. Right, okay, we are going to get through this now. Intro is officially cut. Okay, that's a wrap. Okay. I sit in an empty house in the pitch black on a Saturday night, talking to my own mind, and it's pretty normal to me. Yeah. And I've put it, I'll never stop being It's a swear word, but I'll never stop being annoyed about Pharaoh thinking he's mad. Yeah, I'm just obviously mad at that point. Remember, this is... Oh, I didn't tell you the date of this one. When was the date of this one? It doesn't say it. Well, I mean, it's in a particular folder that is 2019. Okay, so it's same sort of time. So yeah, I'm fuming with Pharaoh because I'm looking at the children of Israel and I'm like, oh, okay then. So it's that kind of time. I'm having that kind of day, guys. Forgive me and just try to just allow this to be evidence that I am human and that I am just like you in every sense of the word of, you know, I'm osculating. I don't even know what that means. Just it means that I'm like the tide. I'm sort of I'm in and I'm out, and might be a little bit further out today than I am usually. But listen, that's just how it is. But I'm still giving. I'm still here. I'm still alive. Praise be to Allah. All right. As I chase this new frequency, God is actively taking away those that were relevant to my old frequency, making room and opening doors for more like-minded individuals. Yeah, it's caused me a lot of pain to swallow the truth of this, especially because it meant letting go of the ones I loved most. But I must get used to pain, because this world is going to try to break me into pieces when I start revealing Genius Phoenix. See, that's like the little bit of poetry at the end. Like, I love my little, start review. You could even say that's a song title. I've got so many song titles that I've never made. And, I was even imagining today of being like a musician on the wheel. Like being God's musician on the wheel. And it was a beautiful thought, actually. It really, really made me smile. And I immediately, like, sort of looked down and was just very grateful for it. Because we should stay grateful, but we should always stay humble and not get ahead of ourselves. And we got our work to do before we even have a chance of going to the wheel and, I was going to say, to home, to home, to safety. That's really what that also represents. So, okay. Yo, I've taken so much time away that I'm a completely different person. Like, does anybody want to come meet me for your first time? Yeah. Learn to be a gradual learner, a patient learner that is happy taking consistent moves towards a goal or an ultimatum. Yes, sir. On my journey to fathoming, I've come to accept and realize that I did not approach spiritual consciousness and enlightenment with the gradual patient approach that I would advise. I kind of hurled myself, including my ego, at it 24/7 and isolated myself in my own space for a while and counting. I kind of still do that, but I feel like it's because of the weight of my goal that makes it so intense and for the most part so arduously demanding. The difference from the beginning of the journey is I'm now aware of the fact that I'm isolating myself from things. I'm not fighting the inevitability of certain things. I'm aware of the fact that I'm charging after consciousness 24/7. I'm aware of my ego and have therefore become the watcher of my own thoughts. I'm trying every day to create my own ego and have it serve me rather than I serve it. I'm aware of the things that I'm putting aside my body. I'm aware of the things, pardon me. I'm aware of the things that I'm putting inside my body, and I'm aware of the words that I'm saying out loud to others and to myself inwardly. Yeah, when you're in your beginning of your journey, it can be sometimes a really difficult thing to go through and to grasp really what's happening.
when it comes to like your old self and your new self, it's very interesting. Like, it's very interesting. It's like an art. It's like you sitting there letting an artist draw you. Like, you've got to stay still and let the artist draw you. Like, if you get up and or move position, then the artist is gonna lose sight of, you know, you. And so, you know, sometimes we get up and say, how's it looking? How do I look? How do I look? And sometimes you've got to just wait. You've got to be patient for, oh, you know, Christ said, well, Christ gave me a message through a brother today. Through on Instagram, he just randomly messaged me, and I met him. I met him ages ago. Like, even at the beginning of my journey, I met him. His name's Dennis, and he sent me a scripture. He said Ephesians 2:8-9. He said, "For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast." And so, it was just a wonderful little message. But it's you know, we only boast in the Lord. That's what we intend to do, and His great works and His great teachings. Praise be to Allah. All right. I hope this is not too like long-winded and stuff. It is a little bit heavy today, guys. I can only be myself in it. All right. If you try to lift a weight that is too heavy, you are going to damage the muscle that you're trying to expand. Likewise, if you try to understand everything at once, you can accidentally break your social equilibrium and wear and tear at your mental muscle. You never realize how in love you are with your ego until it starts deteriorating right in front of your soul. And then I put a laughing face, like, you know, you see how I'm learning from myself? You see how I'm studying myself as I'm transitioning? It's like you going up the mountain that's 40 miles high, and you're like putting flags down every mile so that you can trace everything, and so that you've made a log of everything, because you know there's going to be people coming up the mountain, you know, after you. Well, after you, you're going up the mountain for, but meaning like following you up there, because you're going up the mountain. And you know, you got brothers out here that love climbing mountains and that today. They love going up mountains. So, you know, it's like putting flags down so that others can have a easier ride up, you know. Imagine if you didn't put the flags down and you said, yeah, just come up the mountain. Imagine how many detours they'd have had to take if you didn't, you know, make I think it's a posterity. Is it posterity? Is it posterity? The beep. There's somebody who beeped outside. Maybe it is posterity. Let me see. Posterity. Yes. Yes. Posterity refers to all future generations of people or the direct descendants of a specific person, often used in context of preserving items or legacies for the future. See, it's like, you know, you're going up the mountain, but you're setting up through your flags a posterity, like a guide, you know, a guide up to or towards a goal, or into a thing that, you know, can benefit future generations. Pardon me. I'm trying to think of another example of this. It's like, alright, you've made a great cake, but instead of you making the great cake, or you making, you know, a brilliant meal, just making it, you've made sure that you've made steps, or you've made a log of every step you've made thus far, so that if people want to make that meal, if people want to make that cake, then they've got a basic, you know, step by step to bake the cake so that it will taste just as good. It'll be just right. It will be a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like, imagine then you trying to make the same cake without the instructions. Like, it just might not taste the same. But like Farrakhan, like, if you want for your brother what you have for yourself, you find a way for others to have what you have, because you know you find, like, they call it guidelines. And I believe when you do your letter to the savior, I believe you're doing like guidelines. You're writing over the guides, words in perfect, or you have to do his you have to write your letter, don't you? You know, correct me if I'm wrong, beloved family, but I think I'm right on that. So anyway, not to ramble, but yeah, I think you get the point. You make it accessible for others. So you have to train your mind to understand the small things so that it can lead you onto the deeper things. For the majority, in my opinion, the slow and steady strategy is probably best because it's lighter onto heavier. See, it's lighter first and then it gets heavy, but because you've grown into it, it's not as difficult to carry, or it's not, you know, I think I said this on one of my other podcasts, or maybe I've just said it to other people, and I think I've just said it on one of the podcasts or one of the episodes, but I always remember at the beginning of my journey, I went to have a dinner at a Muslim's house, and I remember, like, I'm there, like, you know, speaking, and I'm trying to like ask questions and whatnot, and truly my brain works at like a million miles an hour sometimes, as you could probably tell in these little broadcasts. In a way, like, I sometimes go very, very fast. I told you I was very, very fast as a young man, like very fast, physically. Like, my fast twitch fibers are just on a level. Like, I'm very, very quick. You know, I can, yeah, not to toot my own horn, but it's really, it's a gift to have speed. Like, I'll give you another thing that will kind of help you understand. My favourite football player was Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale is so fast, and that's why I loved him, because he could use both feet, and there was just a point I was looking at him and I was like, yo, you're just so fast, bro. Like, speed is power, bro, and I just loved that about it in the game. Like, in footy, there's nothing more joyous to me than watching a player run with the ball, like, fast, and he can keep it under control as well. Which is, it takes a real gift to run fast with the ball, which is, you know, there's a spiritual teaching in that, or like perspective, but I'll leave that to you to figure out. But anyway, oh my god. Anyway, he just stopped me at one point and he said, Jack, slow down. It's like I'm hearing it now, to be honest. He said, Jack, slow down. You know, take your time. And just, you know, take it slow. And yeah. and thus it was. And thus it was. So I've put here, the majority, in my opinion, the slow and steady strategy is probably best because it's lighter onto heavier. But feel free to go as deep as you feel like you can go. Feel free to go from heavier to lighter to even create your own pattern, style, or strategy of growth. So, yeah, okay. They say that if the weight is light, then it is easier to lift. So what happens if the weight is dark? Has it now become more difficult to carry and therefore heavier? The mind is at comfort when it receives something that it understands, light. However, the mind is constrained when it receives something that it doesn't understand, dark. Start with what feels right and slowly train yourself to face the darker parts of understanding reality. Colour was once dark matter, without any aim or purpose before it became the almighty spectrum, through patience, through persistence, and through gradual steps of consistent motion. I love that we can integrate wisdom with colour and knowledge with colour, and it's almost as though when you colour the words through the spiritual, it's almost like it has a very transitory effect on the soul and has a transitory effect on how we can picture things. You know, Elijah Muhammad and Mother Tainetta Muhammad and just all the Muhammads in the temple, they talk about how like colour is, you know, a very valuable, but it's music, colour, and medicine. Music, medicine. I think it's medicine. Pretty sure music, colour, music, science, and colour. But anyway, they kind of like it does something to the way that the mind can blueprint a thing, and it does something to our imagination and our ability to envision a thing. See all these words that I'm using, they are very spiritual words, like that, you know, it's almost like they hold their own frequency. They hold their own, it's its own language, do you see what I mean? So when Elijah Muhammad said, oh, put it in that fine language that you know, it's like what is he talking about? What is he talking about? I don't think he thinks that the English language as such is like the, you know, it is a divine language in a way. He's not saying that. He's saying how you can explain what it is I'm teaching through what you understand, which is the same as other, you know, Lord knows I've been picking at that for years, yo, and I've been thinking, so I'm always thinking about what the messenger said, and I'm always feeding on what he gave to us, and I'm always trying to find ways to get a flag down, you know what I mean? So we are at the end. We're pretty much here. I'm not doing any more today. I'm being a moody bum today. But I'm sure there's a lot here. Even I told you, down is not down when you've got an up attitude. You know what I mean? See what I mean? You go actually, you go into the realms more. Like sometimes when you've got something in your way, it makes you dig deeper. You know, if you can put it like this, I just remember the memory, and I'll tell you one sec. But when the winds are hard, you know, it makes you dig deeper into the soil. Like, say if the wind weren't blowing, you could stand up. So, but as soon as the wind starts really blowing, and I mean really blowing, you start having to like put your fingers into the soil and use the soil to hold on. But you know what made me laugh was when I was younger. When I was younger, right? I must have been like year 3 or something. One of my mates, Jonathan Shepherd, if he's listening to this, he's gonna laugh because he'll probably remember it as well. And you know, it was probably Allah at the time that done this, to be honest. But I was in detention. I was in detention in the class room, right? And it was so windy that day. I cannot even tell you how windy it was. And anyway, I look outside the window. In fact, no, was I even in detention? I don't think that was a different time. That I know where I was now. I've just remembered. I was at these like black bars on the school playground, like near the entrance of where you go in after you've been on the playground and whatnot. And I'm not joking, family. Like that day was like the wind must have been like 300 miles an hour winds. But obviously, because we're young lads, young kids at the time, can you imagine the wind's blowing, the wind's blowing everyone about, like we're paper in the, like we're paper. So anyway, I remember the wind getting so bad for this like minute period that genuinely you had to go and grab onto something, right? But my mate Jonathan Shepherd, my mate Johnny, he couldn't find anything but a tree, right? He couldn't find anything but a tree, and the wind was blowing so hard that it took him off his feet. He was holding on to the tree for all his life, like. And I don't know why. Again, it makes me laugh when I think about certain things. I probably need a bit of a laugh, to be honest, but that is a funny memory that I have of him. He's just hanging onto this tree, like literally horizontal on this flipping tree. And it's just really funny to think about. But I just remember looking over and thinking, geez, he needs help on that tree. So, but anyway, all right. And this kind of goes with it. I've got two more things to say, and then that's it. We're gonna wrap it up. But you know, it says here, it feels like I was young yesterday. So I guess that's a humbling thing, because when you're young, it's like everything goes slower. And not only that, has time been speeding up, because Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, did say that time would move faster in the end times. But when you know, so I guess that kind of defeats the object of what I was going to say, but it kind of did and does. Yeah, it kind of did feel like a year took like 10 years to come, like to get through a year when we were younger. Does anybody relate? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But I say this all to say that, you know, they used to say when we were younger to us, like, wait till you get to my age, you'll be surprised how fast it goes. And you don't think about it, do you? But it's really true, like your life does flash before your eyes, and I need to stop fiddling, because I'll not be focused. It really does flash before your eyes, and this is why I'm so grateful to Allah that I chose to do something universal, because you know a lot of people are really struggling as to what they're gonna do that will benefit, you know, all. And I think I feel really grateful that, you know, I've got something universal to crack on with, because, you know, it's almost as though anything of value that I learn outside of what I do and what I work on, that I find value in, I can implement it in some way, shape or form into the universality of what I'm doing. But there's a lot of people that genuinely live for themselves, and, you know, some people are really struggling to find that purpose, if you get what I mean. You know, purpose is not popular. I don't think because people don't want a purpose, but I think there's so much stuff going on, and people have left, you could say, essentially that question of what is my purpose to the last minute, or like to a later stage, that they've kind of like, people starting to feel that now. Do you know what I mean? And you can see it, you can feel it, especially with older people, and like people that are, you know, our parents, or just people that are older. You can see the stress that people go through. You can see it kind of like, but you know, it's separation. this is what time it is in a way. You know, it's unity, no doubt about that. But there's certain things we have to separate. It's the day of separation. Do you know what I mean? In some senses. Oh my gosh, I'm yawning. That's not a good sign. I should really cover my mouth. Prophet Muhammad said that you should cover your mouth because he said something like, when you yawn, Satan laughs, and when you sneeze, well, you don't like it when you sneeze, apparently, something like that. But again, it's all that. I consider everything when it comes to Prophet Muhammad. I try not to sleep on anything he said, because to some degree or another, he's onto something. I always find the Islamic world may not always interpret and give off or give out the messages that Prophet Muhammad said in the correct way, or with the correct like interpretation of what it is, because to be honest, you know, Prophet Muhammad was such a spiritual man. So a lot of the times that he was talking about certain things, like, I'll give you an example, and it's kind of funny. It might be a bit funny, I don't know, but you know, he said, if somebody comes to you with a head like a dried raisin, you know, you should follow him. And like, they take it literally. They're looking for a guy with a raisin for an head. You know what I mean? And it's like, no, brother, what he means is, if a black man comes to you with some wisdom, you better follow him, because he's the next in line. And that's Farrakhan. Do you know what I mean? And so they take it like really so literal that they really confuse themselves with a lot of things. And again, I'm putting my glasses on as we do this. Are you ready? This is why we are here. I did that on my mother the other day. I was like talking about something, and you know, when Men in Black, when they put the glasses on and they do that thing where they like, and they make them forget like what they've seen. She laughed. But yeah, told you, always try your best to make your mother happy. Whatever you gotta do, even if you gotta do a backflip and fall on your neck. Nah, don't do that. But make sure that she knows that you appreciate her, and that, you know, she can depend on you for anything. Okay, last thing is literally 3 words. Strength craves isolation. And this reminds me of the minister, because, you know, I tell you what, yeah, it reminds me of the minister because when, you know, he'd sometimes go into his study for 8 hours and he wouldn't return. He wouldn't come out. He wouldn't come back out. He'd be doing that all day. So, and we should, you know, I'm going to end on this as well. We should really, really credit Mother Tainetta as well, but we should really, really, really credit and admonish and, you know, thank Allah for Mother Khadija, because Farrakhan, you gotta be some kind of woman to love a man like Farrakhan, to stick with a man like Farrakhan, to be patient with a man like Farrakhan, to still serve a man like Farrakhan, to not doubt a man like Farrakhan, to not give up on a man like Farrakhan, to uphold a man like Farrakhan, because, you know, you've got to see more. You've got to see what he's doing, not necessarily the effects of what done what he's doing or doing what he's doing is having as an impact on everyone else. Because, as we said, sometimes we do a work that's not for our time. We're doing work as, you know, as like a posterity. It's like it's an ultimate future work, as well as it is, you know, something at that moment that he has to really focus on. It's not, you know, he's a real sacrificial kind of brother, like, you know. And she had to really bear with him whilst he, you know, wasn't necessarily, you know, yeah, Wait, what was I saying? So I was reading a message whilst I was saying that, but I shouldn't really lose focus. Again, I'm having that kind of day today, guys. I hope you can bear with me and pardon me. But let us, let us, let us just remember to have patience. Let us remember to have patience, because, you know, the only one that's perfect is Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard, guided the Honourable Elijah Muhammad, guided Minister Farrakhan. And so we ask him and we draw on his strength to find our strength. Like before this, I was really not up to this, I'll be real. But I said, Allah, you know, I'm gonna find this difficult, but I'm still doing it. You know, like that story the other day, I was holding them chips. Man, I was holding them chips. I was holding them chips, bro, sister. But I wasn't giving up. I was like, nah, I'm gonna find these homeless people, and I found them. You know what I mean? So just like at the beginning of this, you know, I didn't really want to, but I'm here, and I feel like I found a bit of flow, and there was a lot of things that you know, I believe has come through for you to learn and gain from, and only Allah could have got me out of my little rut and just got me doing this. So, you know, He is the King. He is the one that is behind me, you know. Praise be to Him, who always gives me something of understanding and wisdom, or something of explanation, something of benefit, you know, whether people see it or not. I really do believe that there's something in it, you know, and we've only done 3 more pages, and that is really terrifying because I've got so much to do. I wish I could just like do it faster, but I know what I'm like. I'm like this when I make food, and I'm like this when I do anything. I could make a sandwich, and I'm there like doing the, you know, that salt thing. You know, what's his name? Salt summit. But he when he's like pinching the salt with his bicep curled, and he's like sprinkling it on the thing. Like that's what I'm like with everything. When I make a piece of art, when I'm drawing. You know, it's the greatest lesson I ever gained from my mother. If you do anything, do it with love. You know, if you're gonna make something, like if I make a curry or I make anything, I always take my time with it. I always try to squeeze out every last drop of everything. Like if I make beans in a pan, like there ain't one bean left in that pan. Like there ain't one left. You know, she taught me to really wring that towel out, wring that spiritual towel out, really empty yourself. She emptied herself as a woman in my early life, and as much as she can now, I have to warn my mother. I have to say, Mum, you need to have this is what I say now. I say, Mother, have you had your 7th day? Meaning like the Sabbath, like the 7th day is the Sabbath, it's the day of rest. So I'm like, I always try to remind her to take a break, because, you know, our women have been carrying so much. You know, they don't need, sometimes they need 3 days of rest, to be honest. And sometimes we, the brothers, we're so stressed, and we're so like, you know, tore up in this world. Sometimes we need to just learn when to leave her alone, man, and just crack on with the work and start, because she's been carrying us for generations, you understand? Sister's been doing such a fine job of making sure that the man doesn't fall, and we've got to always try and be as grateful as we can be with that, despite everything that we go through and that we've got going on. So we have to always put the woman first, even though it might be hard, because we're all sometimes so self-centered and so like, woe is me, or why is me, and all this stuff. It's just like, well, you ain't got a period every month, you know what I'm saying? men don't have to go through that kind of stuff. Like, we're not bleeding at the private parts every month. Like, just that alone, I can't even begin to imagine how hard it is. So, you know, we have to, like, you know, praise be to Allah. I'm going to read the Quran now. I'm going to read the Quran. Let's see. I'll share with you what I'm going to read so that you could have a read with me and you can see where I am. I'm just going to do a random page. Here we go. Boom. Chapter 26. Let's go. We'll read up to 8. No, I'll tell you what. We'll go to it because it is the first section is 9 verses. So, it's called The Poets, which kind of goes with, I think I've told you I've got a little bit of a poetic side to myself. I'll have you know. Okay, section 1. The Prophet is consoled. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, benignant, hearing, knowing God. These are the verses of the book that makes manifest. Perhaps, see, oh my God, are you ready for this? Perhaps thou wilt kill thyself with grief because they believe not. If we please, we could send down on them a sign from heaven, so that their necks would bend before it. And there comes not to them a new reminder from the Beneficent, but they turn away from it. They indeed reject, so the news will soon come to them of that which they mock. See they not the earth, how many of every noble kind we cause to grow in it? Surely in this is a sign, yet most of them believe not. And surely thy Lord is the mighty, the merciful. Oh, praise be to Allah. See, I mentioned some of that in this broadcast, and I just did the, you know, when you, I've seen somebody do this before, like, you know, when they just grab the Quran and go, right, we'll stop there, and we just open it on a random page. Like, man just opened it on chapter 26, and it mentioned, I think, what was the things I mentioned in this broadcast? It was the part where it says, perhaps thou wilt kill thyself with grief because they believe not. And was there another one in that? Yeah, it was just that one, but I remember saying that, you know. But yeah, come on. Before I get started again, I need to save my energy for tomorrow's. And, you know, I'm exhorting this every day. And my chest is hurting. I was doing some press-ups yesterday. I think I did a little bit too many, and I'm feeling it a bit now. So I'm gonna have a bit of a rest, make myself a cup of coffee, and probably listen to Sundays. If there was a Sundays, what am I talking about? Sundays lecture or broadcast that we did in the Nation at Mosque Mariam. I didn't watch it, so I'm going to probably watch that now, because I always find there is a beautiful message for me in it. Same with Abdul Hakim Muhammad. Abdul Hakim on a Friday, beloved, you've got to start watching him. He's very, 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 very wise. And he is, you know, oh my God, I'll save that, but, you know, and if anybody knows, like, me, which there's a few that do, I'll be at Study Guide on this Friday, if it be Allah's will, because I'm, in fact, you know, I'm gonna say I could be, because I just want to make sure I'm in the right spirit, and I'm gonna ask Allah, see if it's time, but I'm itching to get back, and I'm itching to. Sometimes we've got the food in the oven, we want to eat it now. And so, but it's all absolute amazingness, amazeballs. Do you know, no wonder the minister loved to just go out and teach, because it's like it's like he forgets that he's in hell when he starts teaching. You know, he forgets that he's in an environment, or that he's just in heaven when he's teaching, and you'll be able to hear it. And I'm similar. I'm very similar. Once I start explaining things, it's almost like all my cares in my life, just all the worries in my life, just seem to, you know, to go away, because I'm in the Word, and it gives me energy, and it gives me life again, and it fills me up again, you know. But I am going to take leave of you now, and, you know, have a lovely evening. Tomorrow will be episode 9. And let's see. And maybe I'm going to try and figure out as well to do like something unique every single episode. So just like then, I did like a random verse in the Quran. So that was kind of a little bit of a fun thing to do. It felt fun to me. So maybe I can find a way to do something like that. Whether it's, maybe I'll grab a lyric. I'll grab one of my lyrics from, I've just got it under my table here, my little desk. And I'll just go through like a lyric and do a little bit of a rap for you or something. I don't know. I'll see if I'm up to it. If I'm in the mood. I wasn't really in the mood today, so maybe. Anyway, I'll think on it. Think over it. I'm gonna think over it and find a way to make you smile, as I always try to do. All right. So yeah, have a lovely evening. Ramadan is, I believe, 2 days away. So I did say I was going to keep reminding, oh yeah, for Ramadan, and oh yeah, what do you call it? Pray for those in Gaza. Gaza's been heavy on my heart recently. You know, I watched Saviour's Day 2024, or like I was listening to Final Call Radio in work today, and I was listening to the minister, and you know, I feel something's going to come out of this that's very important, and whatever it is, you know, I'm trying to tap into it. I'm trying to understand what it is that we're supposed to get from that lecture. The minister is so high up in his wisdom, in the knowledge of the time and what must be done. Sometimes we're so slow to actually see what he's saying to us, or what he's pointing to us, you know. So I was trying to extract it. I might listen to that actually as well as yesterday's lecture at Mosque Mariam. But let us pray for those in Gaza, because they're really going through it right now, and pains me to see it. It pains me to know about it. It's a lot of pain, to be honest. That area of the world needs to just the whole world needs to pray for Gaza right now. But you know, we have the great Mehdi, we have the great Messiah, so we are more than equipped to withstand some of this pressure, some of this pain, some of this stuff that we've got, you know, that might be hard to bear. So, you know, God puts his heaviest tests on his greatest servants. So count yourself blessed if you're of those that are feeling the pain of others. It's not anything but a strengthening factor that you can hold, you know, a thought for others, or that you're thoughtful towards others that are in pain. There are some people that can't even feel the pain of our Palestinian brothers and sisters, and even worse, they don't even think it's happening out there. They don't even believe that they're being annihilated like that. There's not even a care in the world for some people. So, you know, they don't even have the capacity to pray for him. So the fact that you do and we do, we should take advantage of that, or rather make use of that. I don't like saying that, take advantage of it. We should make use of that and ask Allah to lessen the effect of some of the pain that they're under. It's something, really is something. But his will is his will, but you know, stay prayed up, and have your last Have your last nights of getting fat. Because Ramadan's here soon, so you're going to be scraping the walls like, I need a drink of water. So I'm going to have a drink now, actually. I've not stayed hydrated throughout this whole thing, so I need to remind myself next time. Anyway, okay, assalamu alaikum, much love, peace, and yes, I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah.